Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I am Illuminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As always, coming to you live every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. sharp, right here live on YouTube, straight to your device. Guys, today was a rough day, right? I don't know if you all are aware, but in addition to crypto, in addition to cognac, I'm a huge F1 fan. I'm a huge Mercedes fan. I'm a huge Lewis Hamilton fan. And today my heart was broken as it was announced that Lewis will be leaving Mercedes for Ferrari. So we're going to take a drink to mourn our loss. We're going to take a drink to celebrate the years we've had with him. And we're going to take a drink to cheer him on for the next step and to cheer on Mercedes as we continue to do big things, right? So, also, for those of you who don't have the amazing pleasure of being in the Caribbean or being in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we are in the midst of Carnival. So, I'm going to be celebrating with my Spirit of Carnival Hennessy special limited edition, right? I have one for the drinking, one for the collection, right? As always, guys, remember, drink responsibly, degen responsibly. Don't drink and degen. Don't drink and drive, right? In addition to that, shout out to my brother Steven. In addition to that, more housekeeping rules. I am not a financial advisor. As always, nothing that is shared here this evening or any evening to come should be misconstrued as being financial advice. Why is this bottle giving me hell to open? Right? As always, the same way we have our yak, the same way we have our crypto conversation. It is all about the ICE rule. Oh, that beautiful song. It's all about information, conversation, and education, right? So what are we going to be talking about this evening? We are going to be talking about something that came up a lot for me last week. I attended FinTech Islands, of course, in Barbados, a conference that is geared around the growth of the financial technology industry, particularly in the Caribbean, both the English speaking and the Spanish speaking and the French speaking Caribbean. And a lot of the questions that I kept being asked over and over as it relates to blockchain, as it relates to Bitcoin, centered mainly around the price movement. If I think people are going to lose money, people telling me that they've lost money, people telling me that they've gained money. And for me, I think that I felt like it was taking away from the important conversations that needed to be had, especially in that particular forum around crypto, around Bitcoin, around blockchain technology and its impact from a technological standpoint, from a social innovation standpoint. And, I really started asking myself whether or not the price action associated with the Bitcoin coin, the token itself, BTC, may have been negatively impacting the potential adoption of the technology as well as the token side, because we could only see, or because we could only focus on the price action. I started to wonder, is it hurting us more than it is helping us, right? And I started having that conversation with a few people in this space and getting their feedback about that. And, I wanted to continue that conversation with you guys here today, maybe raise some points that I thought were important on both sides. And maybe by the end of this, we could maybe come to a conclusion, or maybe just air out some of the discussion points a little bit more for us to consider as we move forward in this space. So why is this even important? Right? Now, you guys know I am the person who I say every single week, every single day, every single time I talk to somebody, adoption is inevitable, right? But over the last 4 years, we have seen a lot of people come into the market during the last bull run and then leave during the subsequent bear market. So, I guess I could understand why, because if my initial introduction to this space is that I'm going to make a lot of money, and then what happens is that I end up losing a lot of money because I'm not educated, because I'm not doing my research, because I'm not seeking out the information for whatever reason, right? I've lost money, then I'm going to run away from this space, and it's going to take me years sometimes, and in most cases years, to even get back on the horse. I know, for example, that happened to me. That was my experience, because when I got in 2017, I got in pretty much at the top, lost the little bit of money that I put in, and I was like, you know what, charge that to the game. You win some, you lose some, right? But is the speculative nature overutilized or overemphasized as a utility? And that's what I want to really get into, right? So I have some notes. I'm going to go through the notes, right? From my perspective, I think that a heavy price focus, it leads to the speculative behavior of individuals and institutions viewing Bitcoin primarily as an investment opportunity rather than appreciating the potential utility. Now, this speculative nature can result in market bubbles and crashes, right? And hinder stability. Same thing I was saying. I think if we did not have the heavy focus on the Bitcoin price or the price of crypto tokens, we would not see the level of volatility that we see between the bull markets and the bear markets. No, there are bull markets and bear markets in every single asset class. You know what I mean? But the volatility of those cycles in the crypto market, I think, has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people are introduced to it, first of all, from a price perspective. And I think it distracts from the overall real world applications. And for me, when I was coming back into the space, the person who reintroduced it to me was kind of telling me, Bitcoin is going to change the world. It's going to help poor people. And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Poor people don't even have money to eat. How the hell some magic internet nerd money is going to save them from their current experience when they don't even have money to focus on living? How are they going to have money to spend on this token? Because I was thinking about it purely from an investment perspective, right? But the fact of the matter is that even from an investment perspective, Bitcoin, crypto, is one of the only asset classes that anybody, no matter what level of economic background you come from, you can participate at your level of accessibility and have the same benefits from a percentage perspective as those with millions of dollars, right? So if somebody puts $1 million in and somebody puts $1 in, they get the exact same return on investment, right? If Bitcoin goes up 5%, they both get 5%. If Bitcoin goes down 2%, they both go down 2%. So from that perspective, it is probably the only asset class that you can invest in that is completely balanced across the board, right? You can't do that with real estate. You can't do that with gold. You can't do that with commodities like oil and gas and all these other things. So just from that perspective, it starts leveling out the playing field so that everybody is participating at the same level, right? The next thing is blockchain technology is already helping and can continue to help tons of different industries, like finance, which we see predominantly with DeFi. We have supply chain. We see that with projects like VeChain and others in terms of streamlining supply chain, allowing supply chain to be managed more efficiently. Healthcare, in terms of health records, in terms of people being able to own their health records, and so much more. So for me, I think as we move forward to gain greater adoption, global adoption of crypto, we have to start not just introducing the world to those real world applications, but we have to make those the leaders in terms of narrative creation, right? Because it's very easy to, I think all the drawbacks that people list about Bitcoin in terms of its energy usage, in terms of it being used as a tool for money laundering and terrorism finance, I think all of those are given strength because they are not juxtaposed to any benefit, right? So outside of the market volatility, outside of the distraction that we see with the price movement, the distraction from the real world applications, in terms of, I think it creates a misalignment with long-term goals, because it creates this idea that this is going to happen now for now, so people aren't looking down the road, people aren't looking at widespread adoption in 15 years, 20 years. Everybody's kind of looking at how much is Bitcoin going to be worth in this particular cycle, what is the market top for this year? Are we going to get to 100,000, 150,000, $1 million, whatever it is? It forces us to focus so significantly on what is happening now, what is happening this year compared to last year. And I think it throws all our vision, from the long-term perspective. How is this going to preserve value for an individual, for a family, for an institution, for an organization in the long run, as we continue to see value being eroded in the traditional fiat system? How are we seeing this preservation of wealth, this preservation of value over longer time frames, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? We can look back 20 years and see how inflation has completely eroded our spending power, our savings. So why aren't we looking 20 years down the road? It's because I personally believe that this unnatural obsession with price go up, number go up, Lambo, this impacts our ability to see those benefits. The next thing, because we constantly are in focus with the price action, it is what creates this environment where security regulators, commodity regulators all over the world are constantly scrutinizing this technological advancement. You know what I mean? And I think the easiest way to compare it is looking at how the internet evolved, right? And the internet was allowed, despite its bubble, despite money being made and money being lost, it was allowed to develop almost in a regulatory free environment until now. All this regulatory scrutiny that social media companies are under and the internet in general is under is a relatively new occurrence, right? no one was focusing on the internet as it developed from a regulatory perspective. But because we have put money so squarely in front of what we are doing as it relates to building narratives around this space, I think that has created an environment that, you know, has made us more attractive and more interesting to the regulators. Yeah. Yes, Stephen, we know how much of the illicit activities occur in fiat. We definitely know. And we know that, you know, Bitcoin crypto is only 15 years old, and maybe we shouldn't be holding it to the same standards. And I have said that here already, that we shouldn't be holding it to the same standards as the banking industry and some of the other industries that have done wrong things and have been around for hundreds of years. But I think there is some room for that, but there's also some room for us wanting to be better than them and holding ourselves a little bit more accountable. The next thing I would say is that at the end of the day, outside of the regulators, outside of the banks and the institutions that seem to hate crypto, seem to hate Bitcoin, we are in a battle for the hearts and the minds of the average person, right? And the focus on price action impacts public perception of cryptocurrency, right? People see the price go whoosh through the roof, you know, get to 69,000. And then people see the price crash despite what may have caused it, whether it's FTX, SPF, all these things. People see the price then crash down to all the way down to 16,000. And it's hard to deny the reality of that situation when you are constantly pointing to, we're at 42,000 now, 44,000, 55,000, 60,000, and celebrating each of these checkpoints. And I agree they should be celebrated, but I think there needs to be context in the way that we discuss price. And there is the benefit, there is value to focusing on price action, right? Obviously, the investment potential, right? Tracking the price obviously is a crucial part from that investment perspective. Tracking price also indicates the market sentiment. It allows us to see what the market, which is part of the adoption, thinks about the industry, thinks about a token, thinks about a project at any given point in time. And yes, we all want to improve our financial situation. We all want to see our bank accounts grow. We all want to create wealth for ourselves and our families and our communities and our countries. So obviously the speculative opportunities cannot be discounted. Obviously, I would like to be able to buy more yak, you know what I mean? Travel the world, drink yak in other places, go to Cognac, you know, and that requires money. And yes, it is a key indicator of adoption, right? We see the numbers going up. It means that demand is increasing. It means that more and more people are looking into the technology, looking into the assets. So yes, all of those things are great reasons for some attention being given to price action. But again, we talk about the short-term focus, we talk about the volatility challenges, we talked about even the market manipulation, right? Because the way that the whales or these institutions are able to impact what happens in the market is because when we are constantly focused on the price action, and they do certain things, whether it's FUD, whether it's news they are pushing out, or whether it is, you know, a significant amount of selling pressure being put on the market, they know that we are looking at the numbers and reacting to the numbers. So it allows them, space, opportunity, time to manipulate the market, right? And then I think the biggest challenge for me, the biggest reason why I would like to see people reduce their focus and dependency on the price action of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, of Solana, of all these tokens, especially those with value. Now, meme coins, yeah, you do what you want, right? Have fun making memes and focus on the price. But those that are offering, technological advances that could improve our situation here on planet Earth as human beings, I think the biggest issue is that when we focus on price, it limits the understanding around the value proposition for the technology. It limits people's interest in learning about the technology because, and I think that for me is one of the biggest flaws to that ideal. I mean, there is, and that's why when people come to me and they say, I hear you in crypto, I want to know what's the best thing I say, listen, stop right there, forget about investments, don't touch anything, don't look into your wallet, do spend nothing, go back and start understanding why this thing was created, why this thing exists, what caused Satoshi to create this marvel. And that's why I send people to people like Andreas Antonopoulos, people like Crypto Casey, people, and so even now as we have the podcast and people ask me, I send them back to some of the earlier episodes where, we discuss the original ideals around crypto, because I think you should start counting from 1 or even 0. You know what I mean? Do learn to count in tens before you could count in single digits, right? Because it will, excuse me, it will come back to hurt you. And obviously, when you focus on the blockchain innovation, when you emphasize the technological advances, it allows a deeper understanding for blockchain and the potential for blockchain. Whether it be from a perspective of democracy, where each person can be involved in the voting process, we can be able to audit elections in a much fairer way, where every single individual has access to that information in real time, not seeing what any specific person is voting, but seeing the numbers come in. That could be world changing, right? Being able to see the real mechanics behind competitions, behind ticket sales, behind advertising spend, behind, just the ability to introduce transparency into every single aspect of human life, and then be able to use that transparency to hold people accountable, to hold our leaders accountable for the money that they're spending out of our public purse. Like, just think about what those things can do for our world, right? Where wastage can be tracked, so that we can see what are the elements that are causing delays from a supply chain perspective, and it allows us to now start looking at, okay, based on this information, we can make this change, and we can see an incremental reduction in waste. We could see an incremental improvement in efficiency, and it allows us to now track over longer periods of time our growth, our development, our improvement. Because if we're seeing based on the blockchain and everybody has access to it at the same time, this open, decentralized system of information, we can then make a plan. Whether it's climate change, we can make a plan and say, okay, a 10-year plan, every year we're going to reduce by 5%, and everybody can see it, everybody can track it, nobody can manipulate the information. This is real as hell. Imagine what that does for us as a global society, to be able to hold ourselves and each other accountable for the things that we need to do for this planet and for the inhabitants of this planet, right? And then obviously, like we said before, so many diverse applications. So much can be done right now. We just stuck in the first application, currency, money, because that's what we know, and that was easy to apply. But there's so many and varying applications. You know what I mean? And I think technology can always stand up to scrutiny. You know what I mean? And that's why when people make statements or complaints about Bitcoin and value proposition and whatever, we could always point to the fact that, you know what, Bitcoin has never been hacked. It has never gone down. A new block is created every 10 minutes for the last 15 years, over and over. Despite who hates it, despite who loves it, the technology continues to work, right? That's something that we can depend on. So let's refocus our energies on those kind of things. Obviously, yes, we know you can't just focus wholly on the technology. Yes, obviously technology is sometimes slow, technology is complex. Sometimes when you focus only on the technology, yes, it doesn't have the same influence, whether it be on individuals, businesses, regulators, in terms of putting things in place to move it forward. Yes, everybody want to see a return on investment, and that's what drives the technology forward. But I think ultimately there is a middle ground that is attainable, that is advisable, and I think we need to get there. Yeah, sorry, I've been rambling. Yeah, I mean, Stephen pointed out a few, really good examples of how it can be beneficial. So we have like supply chain and logistics, like I said, with VeChain, obviously smart contracts for elections, for audits, for ticketing. I mean, there's so many applications, and if you've been here even for a short time, we've talked about so many of them. So for me, I think that we need to lean more towards the technology. Yes, maybe it's a 70-30 split. 70% focus on the technology, the utility, the innovation behind the blockchain, behind Bitcoin, behind Ethereum, behind smart contracts, behind Web3, behind DeFi. Let's focus on utility. Yes, we're going to make some money. Yes, we're going to focus on the price. Yes, we're going to see positive ROI. Yes, we're in it for the long haul. Yes, it's going to bring us to some level of financial freedom and give us a parallel, our alternate financial system to embrace. But I think, honestly, we have to redirect our energies away from money, Lambo, number go up, because I don't think that is a sustainable model for achieving adoption at the rate that we want it to, for achieving and accessing the full benefits of this innovation. Because if we only use this technology to get rich, we have failed. Plain and simple, right? I don't mean to be a downer. I said early, today's been a rough day, but this year 2024, we henny and happy, right? So we're gonna celebrate no matter what. We wish Louis all the best. I hope Louis could win his 8th championship this year, while Mercedes wins the constructors. I don't know. I don't even know who we're gonna be our next driver, but at some point they will tell us, right? Charlie boy, I wish it was going the other way around. I wish Charles was coming to Mercedes, right? I don't know. Maybe I should go and create a Charles Leclerc token, a new Ferrari Lewis Charles token. I'm sure somebody has created it already. Lewis to Ferrari token LTF, some kind of thing. I'm sure. Just go and check. I'm sure it exists. It's not me. I didn't think about it fast enough. I only just thought about it. Well, now I could be mooning. Anyway, guys, thank you for being with me. As always, I truly, truly believe adoption is inevitable. If not now, someday. I hope we do it the right way. I hope we live up to the potential of this technology. I hope we live up to our potentials as human beings. And I will see you guys next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. 𝐿𝐿uminati out. Guys, be blessed. Love in the house. Peace.